I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, and rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future. And instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be. Never manage by walking around. As a consultant for over 20 years now, working with different companies, growing my own businesses and managing and leading people and being, placed on teams and supporting teams and just watching management strategies, I have gotten to experience how sometimes the strategies that are most common and coached and talked about all the time, like managing by walking around, are also the absolute worst strategies for actually building the team and growing success. In getting prepared for this podcast, I pulled up a couple of articles, and the top post on Fortune magazine on management by walking around is a Dear Annie letter. It says this, my company did a 360 degree of performance evaluations anyway. This person asked about management by walking around, and here's the 6 steps or the 6 tips to make it work. The first tip is make managing by walking around part of your routine. Dropping in on employees' workspaces for an informal chat is most effective if you don't do it on any fixed schedule, since you'll realize the greatest returns by seeing what is going on when people aren't prepared for you. This is a great idea. So at random times during the day, you should go drop in on people to chat with them. And then it says the more often you do it, the more beneficial it is. Anyone who has ever managed people knows that this is the dumbest advice there possibly is. If you are doing this every day, several times a day, like the more often, the more beneficial, you are constantly interrupting your team. And what you're also doing is you're being there, like constantly feeding them information. So if you want your team to always bug you, you should make MBWA part of your routine. So the next advice that they give is don't bring an entourage. It works best as a continual stream of one-on-one conversations with individual employees. Bringing aides or assistants with you will probably just inhibit the discussion by making people more self-conscious. If you're an entrepreneur, do not do this, because you're going to walk around and the stream of one-on-one conversations, if there's not a framework for them, if there's not an understanding, you're going to look for what's wrong, ask questions, and your team is going to recognize this not as like an informal chat. It's an interruption and then an interrogation. And then you performing some type of intervention. And if you constantly do that, your team will learn that you're going to do that. The next one is visit everybody. Okay, well, once you're more than 5 people, if you're doing this every day, you're spending a disproportionate amount of your time in a activity for which there is no planned outcome. And as your team gets larger, this means that this doesn't scale. There's no way it's going to scale. So, and this is fantastic with how they explain it. Visit everybody. As anyone might guess who's familiar with how office rumors mills get spinning, dropping in on some folks more often than others is likely to create the wrong kind of buzz. Try to spend roughly the same amount of time, not necessarily all in the same day or even the same week, but over the long run with each person who reports to you. What the What does that even mean? So are you supposed to time the interactions you have with each person? Make sure that at the end of each month they tally up, at the end of each year they tally up? This is the most circular. Anyway, a lot of these articles are written by people who never had to actually be with someone and see if they were successful after they got their advice. And that's why they write crap like this. Like the next one, walk around. You're walking around. You're having an endless stream of one-on-one conversations. You don't have anyone there to like write anything down for you or help you just in case. And now you should ask for suggestions and recognize good ideas. And then it goes on to say, ask each employee for his or her thoughts about how to improve products, processes, sales, or services. Every day? Are you insane? This is the most broken strategy there is on the face of the earth. You should never manage by walking around. Your team's always going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel uncomfortable. Nothing good comes out of this. The next thing it says, number 5, follow up with answers. If you can't answer an employee's question off the top of your head, don't forget to get back to them with an answer later. Oh, but remember, you have to write it down yourself. You can't get help with that because you can't bring somebody with you. And besides, these articles are so, I want to start like saying bad words, but I'm cleaning up my language for the new year. It says, besides being common courtesy, it builds trust. Come on. There's nothing about walking around an office and having random one-on-one conversations with people that builds trust. Number 6, like this is going to help you do this. Ready? Don't criticize. Remember, you're on a fact-finding mission. Wait, you're also on a fact-finding mission? I thought we were just checking in with people with the secondary purpose of building rapport. So a fact-finding mission with the secondary purpose of building rapport, good luck with that. I've never met one single entrepreneur who can pull this crap off. To avoid determining those to avoid undermining those aims, Steven says, if you find that an employee isn't performing his or her job correctly, don't attempt to change the behavior on the spot. Instead, make a note of it and address the problem at another time and in another setting. Right. Because that's how it works. So what you should be doing is walking around your office, looking at what everyone's doing, making mental notes of the mistakes they're making, building rapport with them, finding out if there's anything that they need, and having an endless stream of one-on-one informal chats. You show me an entrepreneur on the face of this earth who can pull that off on a day-to-day basis without making someone uncomfortable or having someone feel like they were not heard or having someone feel like they heard the wrong thing or said the wrong thing, or after a while, the team just gets used to random interruptions. And if you can pull that off, good luck, because even if you do it well, you're teaching the team that informal conversations and check-ins are a great way to be. So you're teaching your team to come to you for informal check-ins and conversations. There's not an entrepreneur on the face of the earth that wants their team coming to them constantly with check-ins. One of the biggest complaints that we have is check-ins and gotta minutes. Well, if you do this management by walking around crap, you are going to encourage gotta minutes and check-ins. So even though this is an accepted strategy, sometimes the most accepted strategies are just the ones that have been around for the longest, and nobody's come along and said, hey, this just doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, this just doesn't work. Management by walking around is broken, and for people like us, it's one of the worst ways to manage people. Because I've been on the other side. I've talked to the team members who have an entrepreneur check in with them like this. And they tell me things like, oh man, it's horrible. Between 10 and 10:30 every day, he goes through the office and asks everybody a bunch of questions, and we never know what he's going to ask or why. And we always are just waiting to get it over with, because sometimes he wants to see a bunch of stuff, and then other times he doesn't, but he never really follows up. Or, oh yeah, she does kind of walk through the office every once in a while and check in with people, and she always talks to Sheila about her cat. And, well, it's because Sheila always talks about her cat. And the challenge is that as your team grows, this informal attempt at building rapport and walking around and like being a manager is only going to get more awkward, and you're going to make more mistakes. You're setting yourself up and you're setting your team up. You're building the wrong habits. You're putting yourself in an awkward situation. So the right way to do it is to have interactions with your team that are planned ahead of time. Have them know what the communication structure is for the company. Have them understand when things are due and have them communicating to you that they're getting those things done. And then measure the right things so you know what your team members are doing. And this way you're running a business so that you can scale the entire business. Management by walking around doesn't scale at all. And for people like us, it's just going to make us uncomfortable. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't walk through your office and see if there's any issues. I'm not saying you shouldn't walk around and see if there's any challenges that should be addressed. But I'm the opposite of the article. I'm talking about you should be walking around and look for the things that need to be addressed right now and use a very high barrier for that. Because you don't want to build the habit anywhere that you walking around is the way to get stuff done. You want to build the habit with everyone that the way to get stuff done is to know what's expected, to measure success along the way, understand who is doing what, and have hyper clear outcomes. So just because the rest of the consulting world doesn't only acknowledge management by walking around, but it actually trains people to do it, I'm going to beg you to never employ this strategy with your team. And you will see that you're going to get a lot more done, and they will too. Thanks for being here with me. And if you're building a team and growing it fast and you want to have the right systems, the right structure, so you understand what each person is doing, so you know how fast you're growing, so you know exactly who to hire next, when to hire them, and what your priorities as a team should be, we help entrepreneurs do exactly that. And if you know you have more opportunity than what you're serving today, and if you could expand your infrastructure and the leverage you have within your company, you could go take advantage of it, then we should be talking. Reach out to us. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for being here.